The Night of the Seven Demons. I never believed in those stories, until that night. It was the eve of the Lemurian festival, when the Romans offered rituals to appease restless spirits. There was a strange atmosphere in the air, something heavy and sinister, but in my youth and arrogance, I chose to ignore the warnings. That night, during a banquet at the palace, I felt the bustle and music suffocating me, so I escaped, leaving the feast behind to wander the empty streets of Rome. As I walked, I noticed that the city seemed darker than usual. Torches barely illuminated the hallways, and a thick fog rose from the ground, enveloping everything around. Without knowing why, my steps led me to the outskirts of the Forum, towards an old abandoned temple that was said to be cursed, where forgotten gods and vengeful spirits still dwelt. It was a place that was avoided even in broad daylight. I stopped in front of the temple entrance, an ancient structure covered in moss and vines. Statues of ancient gods stared at me with empty stone eyes, and a chill ran down my spine. Yet something compelled me to enter, perhaps the need to prove to myself that I was not afraid, or curiosity to explore the unknown. As I crossed the threshold, a gust of cold wind hit me, and the smell of old incense and dampness filled my lungs. Inside, the shadows seemed denser, as if they had substance of their own. I walked slowly down the main hallway, lit only by the dim moonlight filtering through the cracks in the ceiling. Then, I felt it. A presence. I wasn't alone. "You have arrived, Messalina," whispered a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. I froze. The sound of my name echoed in that place like a sentence. I looked around, but I didn't see anyone. I could feel it, though, like a pressure in the air, as if something ancient and malicious had awakened. Before he could react, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a tall, thin form, wrapped in a black cloak that moved like smoke. His eyes glowed with a red glow, and a cruel smile spread across his face. "The Night of the Seven Demons has begun," he said, "and you have come to greet us." My heart was pounding. I tried to back away, but when I turned, other figures had appeared in the gloom. There were 7 of them in all, each different, but all shrouded in a darkness that seemed alive. One had claws instead of hands, another had skin as pale as marble, and its eyes were dark pools that reflected nothingness. One more seemed to be engulfed in flames, but the fire gave off no heat, only a searing cold. What are you?" I managed to ask, my voice shaking. "We are the guardians of the forgotten, the demons of regret and desire," answered the first, the one with the red eyes. "Every year, on this night, we seek souls who challenge the threshold. And you, Messalina, have called us." I was speechless. I didn't understand what I had done to deserve this. I had only come here to seek solitude, not to summon demons. But then, I understood. The Night of the Seven Demons wasn't just a legend, it was a ritual, and by crossing the threshold of the temple, I had unleashed something ancient, something that had been waiting for a chance to return for centuries. "No," I muttered. "I didn't call them. I didn't want to." "But you are here now," one of the demons interrupted, his voice sounding like the crackling of dry branches. "And now you must pay the price." I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't obey me. The shadows closed in around me, and I felt the air grow heavier, as if I were submerged in water. Then the demons began to draw closer. Each one of them brought with them a fragment of darkness, a deep, primal fear that seemed to pierce me to the bone. The first, the one with the red eyes, leaned over me and whispered in my ear, "Your beauty is your curse. We have heard your hidden desires, your ambitions. We know what you are willing to do to maintain your power. Now, you must pay for what you crave." One by one, the demons spoke. Each one revealed a secret, a thought I had never shared with anyone. Guilt and fear began to twist inside me, like snakes in my chest. They were showing me something dark and terrible in my own soul, a side I had chosen to ignore. When the last demon finished speaking, the room fell silent. I found myself kneeling on the floor, exhausted and shaking. The shadows seemed to be moving away, but I could still feel their presence in the air. "We let you go, this time," said the red-eyed one. "But remember, Messalina, we do not forget. The night of the 7 demons always returns, and you will find us again when you least expect it." With those words, the figures disappeared into the darkness, and the air became light again. I struggled to my feet and ran toward the temple exit, my heart beating in my chest like a drum. I did not stop until I was far from that cursed place. That night I learned that Rome was full of secrets and that some legends were more real than I had ever imagined. Since then, every eve of the Lemurian festival, I lock my doors and windows, and I do not go out after dark. Because I know that the 7 demons are out there, waiting, reminding me that darkness always has a price.